You know, there's something truly fascinating about the kind of man women naturally gravitate toward. And it's not always what people assume. It's not always about money, looks, or even charm in the traditional sense. Those things might get attention, but they don't hold it. What actually holds a woman's attention, what keeps her choosing a man over and over again, is something deeper. It's his presence, and more specifically, the kind of confidence he carries. Now let's get something straight. Confidence isn't loud. It's not about dominating conversations, walking into rooms like you own them, or speaking over others to prove your worth. That's insecurity wearing a mask. True confidence is subtle. It's quiet. It doesn't beg for approval because it already knows its value. Women pick up on this immediately, whether they're aware of it or not. They sense when a man is centered, when he leads, not by force, but by being. This kind of man doesn't need to control the room. He owns his space within the room. There's a difference. And the reason this is so powerful is deeply psychological. Women are biologically wired to seek stability, someone who can hold steady when things get chaotic. Life is unpredictable, and whether she says it out loud or not, she's watching. She's observing how you handle pressure, how you respond to discomfort, how easily you get shaken, or how solid you remain. That's what leadership looks like in real life. Not telling others what to do, but managing yourself with emotional discipline. Confidence also shows up in your decisions. A man who's constantly second-guessing, asking for permission, or hesitating to speak his truth doesn't create that sense of safety. Not because he's a bad person, but because his foundation is shaky. And if you're shaky, how can she relax? How can she trust your direction, your judgment, your presence? That's the core of it. Confidence isn't just about you. It's about how your energy affects the people around you. When you carry yourself with self-trust, with calm assurance, the people around you, especially women, feel that. They feel more relaxed, more safe, more feminine, and more willing to open up. But here's the part most men miss. This kind of confidence isn't built from external achievements. It comes from doing the inner work, from knowing who you are outside of what you do, from confronting your fears, learning how to self-soothe, how to sit with your own discomfort without needing someone else to fix it. A man who can sit with his own fire without letting it consume him, that's the man she trusts. That's the man she follows, chooses, and respects. And philosophically, it touches something even deeper. This idea of masculine containment. The masculine in its highest form provides a kind of structure, not rigid, not cold, but solid, like a mountain. Something she can move around, be emotional with, dance through life with, knowing it won't collapse underneath her weight. That's what real leadership looks like in a relationship. That's what makes her feel safe enough to soften, to choose you and keep choosing you. So if you're wondering why the flashy guy, the one with the loudest voice or the biggest following, doesn't always get the girl in the long run, this is why. Because when the excitement fades and life demands presence, she looks for the man who doesn't flinch. The man who leads, not with control, but with quiet conviction. And that man is always chosen. If there's one thing that separates the man a woman dates from the man she builds a life with, it's this: emotional safety. Not status, not looks, not even chemistry. At the core of every lasting connection, there's a deep, unshakable sense that she can be fully herself around you without being judged, criticized, or dismissed. That's what emotional safety does. It creates the conditions for authentic connection. And without it, nothing you do will ever feel like enough. Let's be honest, modern dating often encourages emotional detachment. Be cool, be hard to read, don't care too much. But the truth is, those behaviors only create distance. They don't create trust. And trust is everything. When a woman doesn't feel emotionally safe with you, she might still have fun. She might even enjoy your company, but she won't choose you in the way that matters. She won't build with you. She won't lean in. She won't give you her softest self. Because you haven't earned it. Now, emotional safety isn't about being passive or overly accommodating. It's not about trying to be the nice guy who never disagrees or avoids conflict. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about presence. It's about how you handle her truth. Can she express what's really on her heart without worrying that you'll shut down, lash out, or withdraw? Can she cry in front of you without feeling like she's being dramatic? Can she admit her fears or insecurities without being made to feel small? These moments may seem minor on the surface, but they are everything. They tell her if you're the kind of man who can hold her, not just physically, but emotionally. And I don't mean fix her, I mean hold space for her without needing to change her experience just to make yourself more comfortable. That kind of emotional maturity is rare, and when a woman feels it, she knows. Psychologically, this taps into one of the deepest human needs, the need to be seen and accepted. Women, just like men, carry wounds. They carry doubts. They carry old stories and trauma they've tried to bury. When a man shows up with calm, grounded energy, when he listens deeply, responds thoughtfully, and stays emotionally regulated even in tension, something shifts. She begins to trust. Her nervous system relaxes. She lets down her guard, not because she has to, but because she wants to. That's when real intimacy begins. And let's talk about masculinity here, because this is often misunderstood. There's a kind of strength that doesn't raise its voice, a power that doesn't rely on control. A man who is emotionally safe is still firm, he still holds boundaries, but he does it with clarity, not chaos. He's not afraid of a woman's emotions. He's capable of meeting them with steadiness without being consumed or reactive. That is what allows a woman to flourish. She becomes more expressive, more open, more radiant, not because she's trying to impress him, but because he's created the space where she feels safe enough to be that. This is what separates the man she enjoys from the man she invests in. Emotional safety is the foundation of long-term desire. It builds trust. It deepens intimacy. It's the invisible thread that makes a woman feel like she's home when she's with you. And the man who can give a woman that kind of space, the man who listens without defensiveness, responds with presence, and holds tension without needing to overpower, it's him she chooses again and again. Because in a world full of noise, she will always remember how you made her feel. You know, there's an aliveness you see in a man who isn't just drifting through days. He's moving towards something. He carries a spark you can't manufacture with a smile or a witty remark. It's there in the way he talks about his work, his craft, his passion. And what's fascinating is that women feel it. They sense when a man's life has a North Star, a reason for getting up before dawn or staying late into the night, not because he's compelled by obligation, but because he's driven by purpose. Think about it. Purpose isn't a buzzword. It's a force. It's the invisible architecture of someone's life. When a man has that structure, he's more than a collection of traits. He becomes a story in motion. Women aren't inexplicable creatures. We're wired for narrative. We look for meaning in moments, and when his actions align with a vision that transcends the trivial, whether it's building a business that helps others, creating art that moves people, training for a challenge that tests his limits, that alignment captivates. It tells us he's not just here to occupy space. He's here to contribute something valuable. Psychologically, this taps into what Viktor Frankl described as the will to meaning. We all crave purpose. We all want to feel that our lives matter. When a man embodies that, he's holding up a mirror to that universal hunger. A woman sees in him the possibility of shared significance, of a life together that isn't mundane but meaningful. You'll notice a purposeful life isn't always about grand gestures. It's in the daily rituals. A man who writes every morning, who shows up consistently for his training, who dedicates time to a cause. Those seemingly small choices add up. They signal integrity. They signal that his word has weight, because he's not swayed by the day-to-day distractions. He's guided by something deeper. And if you look at philosophy, Aristotle spoke of eudaimonia, flourishing through the expression of virtue and reason. Purpose-driven men are, in a way, living embodiments of that ideal. They're using their strengths, cultivating mastery, and directing their talents toward an end that matters. That sense of flourishing radiates. It's magnetic because it communicates, I know who I am and I'm on my path. This doesn't mean that purpose is static or fixed. The most impressive men I've met evolve their purpose over time. They're curious enough to pivot when new insights emerge. They integrate learning into their mission. That flexibility makes their journey richer and more authentic. A man who clings rigidly to one idea of himself is ultimately less engaging than someone who's open to growth, who invites the complexity of life rather than resisting it. When a woman is choosing a partner for a shared future, she's unconsciously weighing, does his life hold the potential for adventure, for depth, for legacy? She wants to imagine building with him, creating memories that carry meaning, solving challenges together, celebrating progress, tending to setbacks. Purpose isn't just about the individual. It becomes the soil in which a relationship can grow. So when you see a man who has carved out his own lane, who's not distracted by every shiny object, who can articulate where he's headed and why it matters, you see someone who brings value, not just in what he does, but in how he orients his life. And that's irresistible. It's often said that passion sparks attraction, but purpose sustains it. The world is full of fleeting highs, but a meaningful life offers a durable kind of magnetism. And the woman who's looking for more than surface excitement, she's looking for that enduring spark. So find your why, lean into it every day, and watch as that sense of purpose becomes the silent invitation she can't resist. Let's talk about something that quietly determines who gets chosen and who gets left behind. Selective interest. Not aloofness, not playing games, but genuine, high-value discernment. It's the ability to desire someone without needing them, and that distinction is everything. Because when a man knows his worth, he doesn't chase, he chooses. And that energy is profoundly attractive to women on a psychological level. You see, we often think of attraction as chemistry, some mysterious, uncontrollable force, but in reality, attraction is also a negotiation of value. And I don't mean in a superficial way. I'm talking about the emotional and psychological cues that signal whether someone respects themselves, whether they move from intention rather than impulse, and whether they're willing to walk away from something that doesn't align with their standards. When a man shows selective interest, he's communicating that he has options, not just romantically, but in life. He's not desperate for attention or intimacy. He's rooted in the understanding that not everyone deserves access to his energy. That inner filter isn't arrogance, it's wisdom. It means he's paying attention to how she treats him, whether her values align with his, whether there's emotional reciprocity. He's not interested in proving himself. He's interested in connection, real, mutual, meaningful. This is where the dynamic flips. Because when a woman senses that a man is genuinely grounded in his value, when she realizes he's not trying to win her over, but simply showing up as who he is and allowing her to meet him there, something happens. Her attraction grows, not just because he's not chasing, but because his restraint reflects inner strength. He's not withholding out of fear, he's being deliberate. He chooses slowly, because what he offers is substantial. Psychologically, this speaks to what researchers call mate value calibration. We tend to be more drawn to people we perceive as slightly out of reach, not because they're unavailable, but because they're selective. There's a kind of tension in knowing someone could have many options, but is choosing to invest in you if you meet them with the same energy. It's not about being cold, it's about being conscious. Now, I want to be clear, being selective doesn't mean being judgmental or emotionally distant. In fact, it requires the opposite. It means you're present enough to observe, to feel into the energy between you and someone else, and to assess whether it's healthy, reciprocal, and aligned. A man with high self-worth doesn't need to prove anything. He simply evaluates. Does this situation bring out the best in me? Do I feel respected here? Can I be myself fully, without shrinking or overperforming? This level of self-honoring invites a very different kind of dynamic. Women